to Be Your Own Advocate. I'm here today with my co-host, Isaiah Fliessbach. And this is a show where we look to present to you information of where you can be your own advocate in all different kinds of situations in life. The more informed you are, the better any situation will turn out. So we look for topics that will interest you, that interest us. And we look to bring that information to you so that you can be the best you can in all these situations that you will encounter. So today we have a really interesting show. Our first guest is Liz Michael. She is a real estate domo. She comes out of Ohio, Indiana area, but she has been working in real estate for 20 years now. And today we want to talk to her about how do you achieve the American dream of owning a home. So welcome, Liz, to today's show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Our pleasure. So, we've been talking about different things that are, I guess, in the news. And also, we all have kids a certain age, and they're all at that age where they're trying to figure out how to have the American dream. And a big part of having the American dream is owning your home, which seems to be coming more and more out of reach and more difficult to achieve. So it seemed like you would be the perfect person to provide us with some information about how is that still achievable?
Yes, thank you, Isabel. Well, I'd like to wave my magic wand and say, yes, everyone can own a home, but we all know that that's not the case in this economy right now.
Right.
And interest rates are indeed a factor in it, but rising house prices also are the biggest factor because they continue to rise, maybe not as stiff as they did during the last few years, but they are still on an incline in most areas. Now, please keep in mind that everything we talk about today is it's all over the spectrum because we're talking about the United States. In each state, in fact, every little community has its own things that are true. So what I'm saying today are things that I'm aware of in Indiana, where I work and where I buy and sell houses, and that is my frame of reference for the most part. But I can give you general information for the United States as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, we talked to them about regions of the country and how different they are. But moving is not an option for a lot of people. So they have to figure out how to make it work in their environment. I mean, is it still a dream to try to achieve, or is it just getting further and further out of reach? What are some of the obstacles? I guess some of the obstacles, of course, mortgage rates, but what else
Of
are some
course. Well, the
things?
rising home prices, like we talked about, and of course, the interest rates, the scarcity of housing supply, and that's all over the United States. Zoning and regulatory constraints also contribute to that lack of housing supply, as well as we right now the generation, the largest buying generation next to baby boomer, and it kind of goes back and forth as to who is buying more right now. Baby boomers used to be the largest buying group ever, and now we've switched to the millennials, and now we are experiencing something that we've not had before, where both ends are buying. Baby boomers may be buying second homes, third homes. Because of the pandemic that we had, many times people are buying second homes close to family so that if something happens, they can go there to be cared for or to help care for family members, children, things of that nature if something
Yeah.
happens. So, we just have a lot of different dynamics than what we've ever had to deal with before. And so we have a lack of housing, which is huge right now. That contributes to the rise in because it's supply and demand, right? It's just
Why
the
do you think
normal.
why do you think that exists? I mean, it's funny because I know that, a lot of people around here, I mean, I'm 15 minutes outside of Manhattan, so it's a very desirable area. But people will say, "Oh, I want to downsize," but it doesn't even make sense to downsize because
Mhm.
I'm going to be paying the same amount of money for something much smaller. So they stay where they are. And
That's
but what else?
that That
contributes.
is absolutely truth.
Yes.
And that is stopping a lot of people from moving. So that affects our supply and demand as well, because they likely have larger homes that they'd like to downsize or right size, as what I like to say, to make it better for their situation size wise. But they either have, well, right now, we have the most equity in housing that we've ever had in our lifetime, because many people have stayed in the same location for long periods of time and they built this equity up. Many people
Yes.
own their houses now.
Mhm.
And so that makes a difference as well. But we don't have enough housing for everyone. We are about, depending upon what statistics you look at, and also depending upon the area, as I talked about before, but we're at least 7 years out of having enough housing provided for all those needing it.
So
Part of
what do people do? I mean, like what is a smart path? You know, you're 35 to 40, you've started a family, you have a good job, your wife is working, but you still, how do you know, how do you save up enough money for that down payment, which keeps getting larger and larger and larger?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there are down payment assistance programs. There are different programs that mortgage lenders have out there for first-time home buyers and things like that. You need to establish a relationship with a trusted lender so that you are aware of what programs are available for what you have available in your community as well, and for what you have saved or not. You have USDA loans that you can get for zero down. VA loans you can get for zero down. There are certain opportunities out there that doesn't require a lot of savings to get started.
Okay.
Part of an issue that I'm seeing over and over again is, it's kind of an interesting factor that I'm noticing, and that is the first-time home buyers are trying to buy something similar or about the same quality as what their parents own.
Oh,
It's kind of unrealistic.
yeah.
They're not necessarily willing to or wanting to take and start someplace less to start with, and maybe not in the best neighborhood that they would want to be in to start with. So maybe the expectations need to be reduced a little bit as to what you could do and what you could buy.
I
That
see.
might be a start.
It's funny. I was just realizing I'm East Coast, Isaiah's West Coast, and you're in the middle of the country.
Mhm.
So we do have that expanse to have three different viewpoints on it. You know, by
Hey,
what Isaiah is, yeah.
Liz, I have a question. So I'm wondering if the way I see it is like the bond market, I think ultimately determines long-term percentage rates. Like it's not like people think, okay, we're in a cutting rate now, we're going to be cutting interest rates, and so therefore the mortgage rate's going to go down. But I also see people saying, no, this is tied into long-term 10-year treasury yields, and this is not going to go anywhere soon.
Yes, I don't deal with financing. I always refer my clients to my people who I trust with the financing end of it. I deal more with the actual buying and selling, because I learned in 08 and 09 when we had the crash that things were changing in that market so rapidly that even the lenders were having trouble keeping up with it. And it is frequently changing. And so I don't get into that end of it as much, but you are absolutely correct. It's more than just one thing that determines it. And we did have a reduction, which affected most people about $100 a month just in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Nice.
Right. You think, you know, the idea of buying the condominium, that's how it used to be. You would buy the condominium first, and then you would sell that, and that would give you the opportunity to buy the house. Is that still happening, or are people just buying condominiums and staying there? And the idea of eventually owning a house is not as prominent?
Well, that's a really good question. I am working with a number of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that I'm encouraging to do whatever you can to buy a piece of property right now.
Yeah.
Make reductions in your expenses. That's number one. And not everyone's willing to or wanting to do that. Maybe not go to as many concerts, maybe not eat out, maybe take your food in, those types of things to help reduce your costs. That's number one to start with. and then buy whatever you can to start with. If you can get in on something that's less expensive, and condominiums, usually you can find something that's less expensive. Maybe not. Some condominiums are the highest end of the market as well. But you can buy something, and that's what I do recommend for most of my first-time home buyers as a townhome or condominium, something that they don't have to take care of much of the exterior, because I find their lives are very busy and they don't know how to take care of things mostly. It's really kind of sad.
Yeah. So it's funny, talking about savings, just in general, having that discipline to save money, I don't see it very much anymore.
No.
I mean, it's there, but they having learning how to save money would be, I guess, the first step in getting.
Actually, though, that's the question, right? Because savings, say you take $10,000 and you put it in an account right now, you're losing 7 to 10% a year to inflation. So businesses and people need to understand that and figure out, well, wait a minute, there's definitely a time and place where you're buying a property is not going to be appropriate and not going to be the best move. It depends on the scenario. But in general, if you own assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin, stocks, real estate, any assets in an inflationary time are going to preserve your purchasing power. So if you can, the wealthy people, we look at them and they're like, they are leveraging out debt that they don't have to pay taxes on, and then accruing assets so that they can build their net worth over time. And I think that we need to model something after, we look at the wealthy model and then try to, apply what we can to our lives, no matter where we are, What do you think about that, Liz?
I think that's very wise. And, you can invest in real estate without actually buying a house.
Go ahead.
You can invest in different companies that buy mass houses and mass.
That, yeah.
You can do that.
Group, right? You're in a group that owns a property.
Yes. You can invest.
Where would people find information about that?
Well, I would go to your financial advisor on that to advise you which groups would be the best to invest in. Stocks and bonds and things of that nature are available, but you're absolutely correct, Isaiah, to say that you can't just save the money back. You have to be wise about what you do with that money that you've got in your little nest egg. You can't just let it sit there, because it's not going to do anything except sit there.
Yeah, and lose purchasing power. It's really challenging in that way. It's like
it is.
The middle class is being eroded, not like, maybe not intentionally, but it's a factor of, our devaluation of our dollar is going to erode the middle class. It happens in all previous, economies. And we also look at, like, Roman Empire fell because they started thinning out their currency too much. And here we are buying our own debt, which is going to have a huge impact on our future generations and our ability to actually own homes and to be upwardly mobile in our society. It's really a challenging thing.
It is.
To watch that go down. Yeah.
It is. But I am a solution finder. So I see that things are different. Doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. They're just different. So we have to think of things differently. Like, you may go in to buy a piece of property with someone. Of course, I would make sure that you have that agreement solid when you do that, and an understanding, like if you're going in with another person that you're not emotionally and romantically involved with, I would have something in writing that if one of you becomes in a relationship and wants to move out, you have the exit plan established as to what happens there. You might go into something with multiple people. I know Lennar is a really popular builder, I believe, all over the United States now, and they have established what they are calling their in-law suites, and that is another option. Plus, many people are, you remember the movie Failure to Launch, right? That movie. Many people in that age bracket are staying home longer because that way they can save money, but they still have to be intentional about saving that money, not just staying at home and not spending that someplace else. And I think many times that doesn't happen that way.
So really the pathway to owning your own home is to educate yourself about finances and investments, because that's the next step to being able to then afford, or just to learn. You
Mhm.
know, I my husband is works at the high school, and
Uh-huh.
they started to add in a lot of programs about banking and
Oh,
finance, money
great.
management. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Mhm. Yeah, because people are coming into, becoming adults and not having, like, even just Isaiah, listening to what you said. I've listened to you before. I know you have taken a lot of time to educate yourself about finances, but the normal person doesn't learn that unless they're taught. So,
Yeah.
I guess researching and finding programs that are simple and easy to step you into understanding that are essential to the American dream of owning a home. Yeah,
Yes.
and it goes all
Yes.
together.
Well, and home ownership is an emblem of stability, wealth building. Historically, owning one's home has been seen as a pathway to economic security,
Yeah,
intergenerational wealth transfer, and stake in the community and civic participation. So there are ways that we can do that, and you are absolutely correct. I love hearing that they're teaching the financing part in the school system. That is like one of my all-time pet peeves. It's like, what? We all have to deal with this every day of our lives. Why are we not teaching people how to do this
yes.
successfully? I've never understood that. So I'm so thrilled to hear that.
Mm.
The but it's just, you have to figure out, number one, what your goals are. I highly recommend that everyone, whether you're ready to buy yet or not, that everyone sit down with a trusted lender. I can help you find one wherever you live. I know how to do that. And then you can sit down and find out what it would take in order to buy and what would be available in the price range that you would be able to afford. That's where I would start, because then you have a goal, you have an intentional pathway of how to do that. But most people just say, I can't afford to buy a house. They don't know if they can or not because they haven't checked into it.
It's perfectly well said. Well, thank you so much.
You
Thank
gotta reverse engineer it, right?
you.
Absolutely. Yes, you have to be creative. You can't just do the same old thing because it's worked for 60 years. You have to think of things differently because things are different and they will continue to be different in the future. The
Yeah,
only constant is change itself.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and over the next 20 years, we're going to see a lot of changes as far as who's owning homes and how to create the stairs that'll get you to that point. It's very
Well,
interesting.
and another thing to look at in order to get affordable housing, you may find some place that's further away from where you want to be in order to find something more affordable. That is something else that maybe someone's not interested in looking at because it's so far away.
Right.
But you have to look at your different options. You can't just blanketly say, I can't afford to buy a house. You don't know. You have to look at the different options. I can hook you up with an agent wherever you are in the United States too. Actually, I have a secret way of finding great agents and connecting you with them in a way that is really good for you. I interview them and then send you the interview.
Nice.
Perfect.
What company do you work for, Liz?
I'm powered by Keller Williams, Indianapolis, Metro North, a great company. Love it.
I've got a
Bless.
good friend there. I hear a lot of good things about the company.
Yes.
I love you said you're a solutionist. I think that's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
It's so much about our perspective, right? And in terms of being our own advocate, it's all about like engineering that solutionist mindset and being able to reapproach and solve things and realize there are options, because it feels
On
like
what you can't have. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
I would just say it feels like there's no options for young people in a lot of these situations financially, but there really are, and there are programs and there are ways to do that if you step into those conversations and start making a plan.
It's great.
That is absolutely correct.
Wonderful. Good. Great information. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. And we'll make sure that there's a way for people to contact you, email you,
Great.
whatever, with questions and find solutions.
Text. Yep. Texting me is a great way to text that. And I am able to respond to that quicker than any other way at the moment. So that works really well. And just so you know, Indiana is still ranked, depending upon which survey you look at, but Indiana is still ranked one of the most affordable states in the United States. And we continue to be that way.
And you
So it's
see
very
that continuing like a solid growth where what Indiana, what draws people to Indiana to live? What kind of industry or?
Don't tell anybody about this because it's the biggest kept secret ever. So it's our secret. Honestly, Indiana has a lot to offer, and depending upon where you are as to what it has to offer. But number one, of course, it's the Indy 500, which is a huge 2-mile racetrack that is unlike any other racetrack in the world. Of course, it only runs one time a year, but there are other activities that go on there. There are a number of museums. We have, I think, still the largest children's museum. And we also have a lot of tech that has come to Indiana. We have a lot of opportunity there. And it's really has a variation of urban and suburban, and has a lot to offer as far as good lifestyle, good schools.
Yeah.
Those are usually the things that people look for.
People work from home more and more and more, so it like location becomes an open aspect. Well, thank you again for being a guest today on Be Your Own Advocate. It was very informative, and we truly appreciate it. So, yeah, Isaiah, you know you're right on it there with you know how to achieve that, and you have a beautiful home that you were able to. Is that the first home that you own?
No, the third. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you know, the process of learning, I've learned a lot and made mistakes in that process. And but I want to say, I really enjoyed talking to you, Liz. I think you're a fantastic resource. I can tell I have a really good sense from where you're coming from. I just feel like really supported by you. I think I would definitely recommend people talk to you about this topic and look for resources through you. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us today on Be Your Own Advocate.